Exactly. Both of the people I'm talking about have phony PhDs, and Answers in Genesis has at least owed up that both of these guys are frauds. Now, it depends on which article you find that they make this comment, and they might not make that comment in other places, because they need to preserve their belief, and their whole mission is to prevent themselves from being convinced that they might be wrong. That's what their faith is and amounts to. So they're not terribly concerned with decorum, or certainly not with accuracy, but when somebody is such a blatant fraud that it serves to embarrass the rest of the movement, then they might say something, and they're very hesitant even then.
Yeah, I mean, when there's a big organization I say, but when there's the people who gather all this information together, like Answers in Genesis, I'm talking about individuals who maybe get called on some of their lies, whatever. Do they, in their minds, register that they've done right or wrong?
In their minds, no. It's a very interesting psychology, and you may have met people like this in real life in other avenues other than religion, people who do not accept the blame or responsibility for anything they do wrong. Everything they have done wrong is somehow your fault or someone else's fault, and they shirk all that responsibility, and they will...
We're still, Aaron, it was the devil's fault, but it's okay because I've said sorry to God, and everything I'm forgiven.
We're talking about a psychology that transcends religion. It's not just the religious mindset. There are plenty of people who absolutely will openly admit that they will lie in any given circumstance as necessary, but reprimand you for lying terribly and never admit in the act of lying what they're doing is wrong. They're blame shifters. They project all their own faults onto their opposition. They blame their opposition for it. I don't think they are.
It's a subconscious shifting of the blame. It's a subconscious thing more than
If you show me that I'm wrong, I'm going to be embarrassed by that. Now, I will be thankful, and it has happened several times. I will be thankful that you've shown me my error, and I will drop that error, and I will adopt the corrected way from there on. Okay? Yeah. These people don't.
Can I just highlight
they're wrong? They're not embarrassed that they're wrong, and they're not going to change even when they know they're wrong.
Can I just highlight that by explaining a brief part of the conversation? Knuckle and Free spent about the best part of 12 hours on a blog TV program a few days ago, not hosted by me, and all credit to the person who hosted it, having the patience.
Seriously, get out.
Yeah.
12 hours with Knuckle and Free.
Absolutely. That's a 4 days work. That's 4 hours overtime. But
I told them I could do that as if I couldn't get bail fast enough.
Well, I know that CS Bear is going to be making some videos about it, but I joined towards the end, and during the course of the exchange, the host of the program became so infuriated, he said, right, stop. DPR Jones, if evidence was provided to you that there was a God, would you accept it? And I said, well, of course I would. If it's evidence, I'd be mad not to. And he said, right, Nephilim, if evidence was provided to you that evolution is right or God doesn't exist, would you accept it? And he said, well, that would never happen. He said, no, it's a hypothetical question. Would you accept it? And he said, well, it's never going to happen, is it? So, it's a stupid question. And eventually, after being pressed, look, this is a hypothetical question, will you answer it? He effectively, and I can't remember the exact words he used, but he effectively said no, he would not accept it. And that's the sort of mindset you're doing with.
I forget there's a debate or a discussion. It's Hitchens with it's a respected scientist, and I mean scientist. I don't mean Ken Hogan or anything like that. Who's I think they're an archaeologist, and which they're having a debate, and he brings up that question that if there was evidence to suggest that I don't know if they're a denier of evolution or something like that, and Hitchens asked him, as an archaeologist, would you accept it, the evidence? And he said yes, and then he said, as a theologian, would you accept it? And he said no. So, and then Hitchens just said, I rest my case, which I thought was quite brilliant. And I don't know whether the archaeologist realised that, though, whether he had been I don't want to say outstump, but realised the fallacy he was making, the hypocrisy he was having there, that he had a different mindset when it came to religious beliefs than his whole logical thinking otherwise.
I wonder about this. I wonder about this, and whether this is a conscious thing, or whether this is, they don't appreciate the way in which they compartmentalise religion into a separate area of their mind, and different logical or rules apply to that belief, or whether
it's a protected method of thought, to be sure. They have to preserve that. There's something going on in their brain that protects that delusion.
Yeah, and I just wonder if it's subconscious or conscious, the protection of that, this illusion they have. Because, I mean, in the case, say they did research for if they're trying to debate an evolutionist, I don't like that term, by the way, someone who accepts evolution, and they do find a particular, say, a quote mine, and, I mean, do they read on and see that, it's out of context, or do they actually take it and knowingly know it's false information, or do they not realise? So is the subconscious, I guess, overpowering the conscious, the thought, this kind of nagging in the back of their mind that, that can't be right?
Well, in some regards,
at some point, many of them will admit, at least on some level, many of them have admitted that they understand that it's pretend, that they're just convincing themselves. Dembski said as much in the recent debate that he had with Hitchens, where he doesn't realize the admissions that he made, the Freudian slips, where he was talking about how morality doesn't work unless you're deluded to believe that there's an objective moral compass, and that if you didn't believe the way that he believed, then somehow you would become a bad person. I mean, he was actually stating that believing in it was more important than whether it was true.
Yeah.
And of course, Hitchens said the very opposite.
Yeah, they're completely different mindsets, I guess.
But again, if I may, just dealing with whether they know what they're doing, I think in some regard they do, because again, during the course of this conversation with Mifflin, he basically suggested that it was perfectly acceptable for him to selectively take parts of a scientific paper and rely on those parts and not even bother reading the rest of it. Now that to me is a willful act of cherry-picking.
And then, of course, the chairman of the Board of Education here in Texas, who told me that in a debate that we should not define our terms, that we should allow the public to decide what they think these words should mean.
But if you're making an argument for something, do you not kind of have to define it beforehand? Otherwise, the argument.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't want to, because he wants to misrepresent it. He wants to be able to move the goalposts. He wants to be able to say, "Well, you've never shown this," and then when you show this, he wants to be able to say, "Well, see, what I meant was this." It's like Kent Hovind said that he was going to offer $250,000 for proof of evolution. Or evidence of evolution. You said he wanted evidence of evolution. If you have evidence of evolution, he'll give you $250,000. And then you turn the page on that very offer, and it says that by evidence of evolution, what he really means is proof that it couldn't have happened because of, but couldn't have been done by God instead.
Yeah, and that to me, when I heard about he did that offer thing, it kind of devalued James Randi's offer, because they seem to be almost
that was the concept.
The whole James Randi thing, which I'm big at.
That was the purpose of Kent Hovind's offer, was to say, well, look, we've got an offer of our own.
Right, yeah.
They want to achieve an illusion of equality, however they can do that. And so they'll say, well, my belief is science too, and yours is a religion just like mine.
Yeah.
And they'll try all the projection they can. And it won't matter. Theirs is never going to be a science. Ours is never going to be a religion. There's not going to be. We're not both looking at the same evidence.
No, I agree. And it depends really what they consider evidence to be. I mean, the problem I found, I'm no scientist at all, but I still, there's an intelligent design center now in the UK, heaven forbid, which, that wasn't intentional, heaven forbid. But yeah, looking on the website, I still haven't found any evidence for their position. Like, whenever it comes to debate, it's always whether evolution is correct or incorrect. There never seems to be a debate on the kind of the four, as opposed to against evolution. There never seems to be the four intelligent design.
Well,
before you answer that, Alan, can I throw in something else for you to address as well, please? I mean, Dembski picked up on this in his recent debate with Hitchens, and I know that you were there and have obviously looked at it a few times and made a video about it. He began by effectively saying that atheism necessitates a belief in evolution, and then attacked evolution. What are your comments on that?
Well, I know of atheists whom I can cite who do not accept evolution. Dr. Perenian and Senapathy, for example, who wrote this idea that crabs and lobsters and fish and any number of other animals, multiple different species of each, could somehow not have any common ancestor, so that a red crab and a king crab could both emerge out of primordial soup accidentally constructed with no relation to each other, where the molecules literally gathered together to form a fully functional king crab, and it walked out of the ocean. And that this idea of, look him up, Perenian and Senapathy, you can at least figure out how to spell Senapathy. The guy's a complete fruitcake. He is an accredited scientist. He's noted in peer-reviewed journals for his contributions to the Human Genome Project, of other things. But he does not accept evolution. He doesn't accept any degree of common ancestry whatsoever.
But if I may play devil's advocate for a moment, leaving aside the absurd, as you've just described, if you are an atheist and do not believe that there is a God, and therefore do not believe that there is a creator, does it not follow pretty automatically that you have to accept abiogenesis and evolution? And in that regard, they do go hand in hand, atheism and evolution, and the belief in evolution.
Or you can just not know. If you not just state your...
One at a time.
On your guard.
Abiogenesis
exists in either set. It's some way or other.
Right.
There's a point we all believe that there wasn't always life on this planet, and then there was.
Yeah, leave that aside. Evolution.
Science says it happened naturally. Religion says it happened magically. But it's the same thing.
Yeah, but let me rephrase the question. Does a belief, does your position as an atheist necessarily force you to have to believe in evolution, put it that way, and apart from the whack jobs that you've just mentioned?
I don't think so. I don't think you have to have an opinion on it. You don't have to reject it or accept it. I mean, you can have no opinion on it, can't you? You can say, I don't know.
Well, you can also bear in mind there are a number of religions that are atheists. They don't worship a god. Now, if you revere Gaia as the spirit of the earth and believe that the biosphere is a connected life form,
which we all do.
They're not. Well, it's but a spiritually connected life form. And there was at least one. There was an animated movie about this concept that came out not too long ago, and I can't remember the name of it. Final Fantasy, I think, is the name of this film. But anyway, that is a religious perspective that does not necessarily involve evolution, but neither does it involve a god.
Oh, right. So in what way? I don't know the film. I mean, are there humans? Are there life forms?
But the biosphere is alive. That the spirit of the earth is confined to this realm. That okay. If you went to the moon, you would no longer be within the confines of Gaia. Gaia was created by life, just like Obi-Wan Kenobi described. It's created by life and controls life in turn.
Right. Yeah. So that's a difference now, and I just think that, I mean, I'm definitely no scientist. I'm only 18, but personally, I don't think it necessitates a belief. I don't like belief and acceptance of evolution, because you can not know anything about you can have never heard of the theory of evolution and be an atheist.
Right, but the problem with Dembski and his attack against evolution, making it out that atheism depended on evolution, and then trying to criticize evolution, and then failing in his criticism of evolution.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, and then ultimately contradicting himself, saying that you cannot get morality from evolution, and then saying later, well, you can get morality from that, but you can also get it from deluding yourself like I did.